Hello everyone, this is Teacher Wendy. Today, we're gonna be talking about tantrums and meltdowns. Every parent has experienced this frustration, embarrassment, or exhaustion because of itong tinatawag natin na child temper tantrum. Whatever the diagnosis is, it doesn't matter. Well, if you have a child, most likely you're gonna find yourself trying to manage behavioral outbursts. And if you are a parent of a child with ASD or autism spectrum disorder, then you have this additional parenting superpower. Kasi you are not just managing tantrums, but also meltdowns. A tantrum is an outburst that happens when kids are trying to get something they want or need. It typically happens for toddlers and preschoolers. Ito yung time na nag-struggle sila. They wanted to get something and then they use itong tinatawag na iyak, yung cry, just to get what they want. Sometimes they cry out loud, they yell, they scream, they throw things, no? Yung mga ganun. Yung tantrums. Yung batang nagta-tantrums, usually, ginagawa nila ito just to get attention. Dahil gusto nilang makuha kung ano yung gusto nila. Typically, yung tantrums, nangyayari sa mga bata during their preschool age. Ito yung 2 to 5 years old yung bata. Dito usually lumalabas, no, yung mga outbursts of emotions, lalo na pag nag-i-insist yung bata kung ano yung gusto niya. Pero minsan din naman, pag hindi siya na-manage during those early years, lumalabas pa rin ito. It goes on and on even until dun sa elementary years na ng bata. They continue to be angry or impulsive or get frustrated easily. Kaya importante na ma-handle or ma-manage yung tantrums as early as possible. Example, nagtatantrums ang bata pag natalo siya sa isang laro, or kung nasa department store kayo or sa grocery, may gustong anak nyo, tapos hindi nyo nabili, mag-start na siyang iiyak, he will start crying and yelling, maybe he would lie down on the floor. Yun yung way niya of expressing his frustration. While meltdown, it may look the same, but it is different. Kasi yung meltdown, it happens because of sensory overload ng batang may autism. Ibig sabihin nun, hindi control ng bata. Hindi niya to sinasadya. Why he is crying, why he is screaming, why he is throwing things or lashing out. It's not because he wanted to do it. It's not intentional, it's not behavioral. It's all because of the overload or overwhelming sensory issues within. Like, maybe when it's too loud or too noisy na yung environment, or maybe they don't like the smell of something, or they are so overwhelmed by crowded areas, no? When they see things that are unfamiliar to them, or when they hear things that are not familiar to them, no, so they get upset, they get frustrated, and so ang tendency is magsha-shutdown yung bata na may autism. They are so overwhelmed, maybe because of lights, or smell, or sound. These sensory inputs can sometimes trigger meltdowns for children with autism. So for them, there's too much information to process, kaya na-overload yung senses nila. Ang tendency, ayun na yung outburst, no? Yung magwawala ng bata, iiyak, they will start yelling or screaming or throwing things. It's not because they wanted to do that, but it's just a parang nag-shut off, no? Yung system nila, yung brain nila, hindi nakayanan, yung senses, yung too much information that they have to process. Parang sa computer na nagahang, na kahit anong gawin mo, wala kang pwedeng gawin but to wait and wait for it to reprocess again. Kaya it is very important for teachers, for parents, for therapists to know kung ano yung mga triggering factors ng meltdowns ng isang batang may autism para maiwasan ito, and to be able to discuss also on how to manage it and handle it pag nangyari yung mga time na may meltdown ng bata. So knowing the difference can help you learn how to respond in a way that better supports your child. So yung approach, yung strategies on how to help is very different. No, iba-iba yung strategies na ginagamit for tantrums and meltdowns. Usually, itong mga batang nagtatantrums, they stop having outbursts once they get what they want. So ibig sabihin nun, intentional yung ginagawa nilang pag-iyak or yung ginagawa nilang pagwawala. While sa meltdown naman, it's beyond the child's control. It's a reaction dahil sa na-overstimulate yung senses nila for some reasons. So, to put it simply, tantrums are an angry or frustrated outburst, while meltdowns are reactions to being overwhelmed. Kaya, ang pwede mong gawin pag nag-meltdown ang batang may autism, either kung napagod na siya ng kakaiyak, or you have to remove him away from that triggering situation. Like example, kung nasa mall kayo and yung triggering input sa kanya is yung very loud na noise, yung, di ba yung sa mall may dang dang, mga ganun na mga sounds, yung parang high pitch na nagbe-bell. No? For children with autism, they do this because hindi nila makayanan yung high-pitch na sound na ganun. So, kung alam mong nahihirapan yung anak mo when hearing those certain sounds, then you try to remove him from that area, from that place that triggers sensory overload. Pag hindi naman talaga maiwasan na kailangan nyo pumunta sa isang lugar na maingay, then maybe you can provide something for your child like a noise cancelling na mga earphones or earplugs just to help your child na hindi siya ma-trigger, hindi siya ma-overload yung senses niya para maiwasan yung meltdowns. Kasi most likely, you know or you can predict what causes this emotional or behavioral outburst, and as a parent, you get to have this parang go-to tools on what to do whenever these breakdowns are happening. No? So salute to all the awesome parents there who's really trying to get to know their kids better and better and getting to know what causes or triggers tantrums or meltdown. So remember, when managing a child's tantrums, don't give in to their wants. However, kung meltdown ito, you have to help your child find a safe place or a quiet place to de-escalate. Ang goal dito is malesen yung sensory input that is coming in para sa anak nyo. So, thank you everyone. I hope you have learned something new today. And if you find this video helpful, please do subscribe and help me also to share this to your walls, sa Facebook, sa Instagram, or in whichever platform you have. Just spread this videos to other parents also. And may God bless you all. Sa mga sounds like that, say hello, ate. You move na there.